In the interest of time, I simply want to say, love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. Doesn't mean you have to like thy neighbor. Doesn't mean that you will cuddle with thy neighbor. It means that we will seek an understanding. And as David was saying to the children earlier, that we will seek an understanding of the other. The word translated as love is so inadequate. Love is such an inadequate word for what agape, selfless, Christ-like, God-given love truly is. Loving thy neighbor means that we are opening up and willing to put someone else's understanding above ours and at least seek to understand it. In that spirit this morning, it is an honor to welcome Almaz Negash. Almaz is here not because doors were closed, but because doors were opened. And for those who did not know, Dr. Jim Emerson and his incredible wife, Miggs, who opened their doors to Almaz, let's just hear together what beauty comes when doors are open. She is here representing the African Diaspora Network and Step Up Silicon Valley, and here to say a word about the importance of what happens when we open our doors, open our hearts, and open our understanding, and let that Jesus guy walk with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So I was thinking about when John contacted me and said, would you be willing to come and speak? And I said, sure. I didn't even think about it because I remember once, many years ago, maybe 25, 26, Dad was here and preaching, and I remember those moments with the man who actually opened the doors for me, he and his beautiful wife, Mom. I call them Mom and Dad, and I have no shame on saying that. I've done it for so many years, and I'm so grateful for everything. But I want to start with something. So the whole idea of immigration and migration is a life that people have had for years. We've done this for many years, for centuries. People have actually migrated north to south, east to west, the United States. But it's actually part of human life. We live where we were comfortable to try to see if we can find something that's better. We're restless, and I think we should. I am one of those restless people. I grew up in Eritrea, northeast of Africa. And by the time I finished high school in 1983, I told my mother and my father, I have no interest in staying here in this country where there is war between Ethiopia and Eritrea. I actually want to go and study and do some explore life. And I'm number 7 of 8 children. And so for my mother and my father, not that they didn't know how rebellious I was since I was little, it was kind of shocking because they wanted to see me get married and have children, all the things that people love to do, not for me. So I've decided to leave. So my journey brought me here not as a refugee or as any, but just one restless person who wants to actually advance in education. So I came to the United States as a foreign student in 1987, August of 1987. Not knowing what life would hold, but I was a student in Amsterdam before that for 3.5 years. Still felt like, I don't want to study everything in Dutch. I actually want to go and study this in English, so I got to go somewhere else. So I'm just one of the many millions of people. Maybe 51 million as of today are refugees all over the world. I just happen to be one of the very few people who are very lucky to actually leave their home country by plane and have an opportunity to meet people like Mom and Dad who actually opened the door for me. So I met them in San Francisco in 1988 after I stayed here for about 6-7 months through their friend. I had absolutely no brother, sister. All I had was hope. And I wanted to really achieve what I wanted to achieve, and I did not know how to do it. I just know there was an opportunity and possibility. I have no idea what that looked like. I just knew that something was going to happen. So the day I went to meet with the two of them in their home, beautiful home, Beaumont Avenue, San Francisco, Dad looked at me. I was there with my oldest brother who also works in KLM in Holland. I tell you this because I think it's very important to what I'm going to say at the end. He asked me, Dad asked me, the both of them were there. He said, Why would we help you? What if things don't work out? And I said, they will work out. I'll make them work out. I have no idea what they will work out. Somehow I just had this arrogance that I felt I will make it happen. I had no idea what their intention was. All I was looking was for a place for 3 months until I get a room and board somewhere else. And time flew, and by the time I stayed there for 3-4 months, I was ready to leave, and I was told, you can stay. They had no idea who I was, absolutely no clue how I grew up. They really took a major risk to bring someone who does not look like them, probably doesn't have that much of things in common. But to say that we believe in you and we're going to invest in you, it takes courage to do that. They were fearless. Because one of the things that I believe that brings hatred, what we've been hearing today, what happened in Orlando, what happened in Charleston last year, or what happens every day that wherever we go, is fear of the unknown. I don't look at you as someone who looks, if you don't look like me, I don't trust you. So the minute we start to close our heart, everything shuts down. But Dad and Mom, they were not closing their heart. They absolutely took the greatest risk that one can take, because they brought me into their home. And they said, no, not 3 months, not 6 months. You're actually going to live here for the rest of your time. If you want to get PhD, go get PhD. They did that, and my life never was the same, ever. I can tell you I'm a very hardworking person, and I've made this thing happen on my own, but if I say that, it's a lie, because I didn't. If I did not have the comfort and the security that I was given in a home that is so beautiful, and I never had to do anything. I even remember asking, Mom, can I do some dishwashing or something? She said, no, just go and study. I even remember there was a woman who comes to clean the house. So they really had a different view on me. And for that, Dad, I love you, and I absolutely just adore you for who you are, what you gave to me. And I know John saw me when I was just completely weeping, and I couldn't even utter a word 2 weeks ago at Dad's 90th birthday. But I have always said that I am probably the most fortunate woman on earth, because my life is so beautiful. I have a husband. We were married by Dad here at Calvary. We have 2 children. I don't know what to ask more for life, even though it has a lot of challenge. My life is not perfect, nor is anyone's. But I do know that I was loved, and I continue to be loved. Loved by people who had no idea who I was, what I could do or could bring to the world. What he has done since is every time I go to meet him, and I make an effort to see him at least once a month at his new place, is to talk, to listen to him and just hear what he wants, what he sees. And I remind him over and over of the times that we've had together. His love is huge and big, and it comes from a sense of confidence, comfort, and faith. I may not change your mind for what's happening in this country. There's so much hate, so much anger, unnecessary, and it's all based on fear. The minute I'm afraid, personally, I do get afraid sometimes, my entire self shuts down. And I try to wake up and say, oh, don't be afraid. So there are things that make us afraid, and that's okay to be afraid, but we should never be afraid of each other. Because at the end of the day, I don't think fear is going to get us anywhere. But if you take a chance, and I'm not asking you to be Dad, because he's so unique and beautiful, and I love you, but I do ask you, open your heart, not to love the way that I know how love is with this wonderful man and mom who's not here today. In fact, his children know I have an unconditional love to Dad. I have no expectation from him. It's the most beautiful love one can experience. But the only reason I was able to experience that is because he invested in me. He allowed me, and he absolutely made me a part of his life. I have cried with them, I had dated, and all the misery that one goes when they're in early 20s. And he did go with that with me. And that kind of love can only happen when we open our heart and we get away from fear. So as tomorrow is Refugee Day, people come from all over the world for many, many, many reasons, but one of them I know is for a better life. Open your heart and be fearless, because I really think it's beautiful. And we are absolutely beautiful when we are fearless to each other and really open up our hearts with each other and get to know each other, because color is just color. It doesn't define who we are at the heart, because we share the same heart. And I ask you, whether we are gay, lesbian, black, white, doesn't matter who we are, at the end of the day, it is the love that we have for each other that is going to make the world a better place. Otherwise, we are going to cry and light candles every time something happens, and it shouldn't. What happened in Orlando is also based on hatred and fear. And I hear this church is not, because I really see what your pastor is trying to do. I was very taken by what you're trying to do with the middle schoolers, because exposing our children early on to the difference of people who are different than them or communities that are different than them is going to open a huge door, and they are the next generation. Investing in the next generation is also a role that we all need to play. I do the best I can to do that in my community. I happen to be living in Silicon Valley. I do the best I can to make sure that our community is supported, because this is my home, maybe more, because I spend my time in this community. I want to thank the church for giving me the man who has made the most beautiful difference in my life. And that I love you, and thank you for having me. Thank you.